Welcome to Fintech Corner. Here we are, an episode at AFP in Nashville, and I'm joined with Matt Vickers and Mark Smith from KeyBank. We've had a great partnership for a while, so we'd love to kind of dig in and see what's on your guys' mind in terms of what we've been doing, but especially, what's KeyBank doing, where's it going, innovation, and all this good stuff. So I'll let you guys introduce yourself.
Yep. Well, thank you, Brett. First and foremost, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Matt Vickers. I head up product for our commercial-grade digital banking platform, which is a suite of online and mobile solutions that we brand and market as Key Navigator. And Brett, I've also had just the pleasure of working with you and Trovata and the Trovata team. I spearheaded, kind of the relationship from a KeyBank perspective. So it's great to be here talking about what we've got going on in the market.
And then Mark Smith, I run all of commercial banks, commercial digital platforms. We have two different platforms to support our clients, from small business bank, all the way up to multinational publicly traded institutions as well. And then I also own our commercial credit product solutions as well for all of our commercial bank clients.
And I don't know if I ever showed this to you guys. My first job out of college, when I went to work for Deloitte in Seattle, the building that we were in was the Key Tower.
That's awesome.
That's when we probably had the Supersonics Arena back then.
Yes. Key Arena. So KeyBank kind of has a little bit of a special sentimental aspect to me.
I love that story, Brett. That's very
Hopefully
cool.
you made your deposits at a KeyBank branch, but
I think so. Yeah. Well, you guys are a big middle market bank too. Like, what are you guys bullish out right now about middle market?
Yeah, so one I think is just the size of it. There's roughly around 200,000 clients that are out there, companies are out there, employ almost 50 million people across the U.S. economy, make about 30% of the private sector GDP. So we know it's a really large opportunity. It's an important part of the U.S. economy. The other part is that, you have a lot of clients in the space that have both, single bank, privately held, to also, private equity backed, multi-bank relationships. So you've got a lot of different products and services that those clients can need. And I think one of the things that Keys invests in our platform is, how do we have some differentiation in both a credit perspective? We can be meaningful to those clients. We have some really innovative payment solutions that can help some of those clients. And then to tie it back, it goes back to our regional, super regional bank, is how do we bring that relationship to life? And I think that's one of the things that we notate and where we think we have differentiation. We see that in some of the Greenwich Awards that we win as well from our clients, is how do we bring that advice, that consultation to that relationship, so we think that we can have an impact for those clients that others in the industry can't.
And you look at all the things going on, this explosion of digitization and so much that's happened on the cloud side and so much innovation. Now it's all just kind of catching up. It's exciting time in banking but all, finance, treasury, customers, they're also, if you're a middle market company, you might not have access to a lot of different things, maybe some of the big companies. What are some of the challenges that a lot of these mid-market companies are facing that you guys feel like, you guys can jump in to help them?
Yeah, it's a great question, Brett, and I would actually point to two things. So number one is middle market companies, they have a lot of the same challenges and needs that the larger enterprises have, yet they have a fraction of the staff to do it. So that's number one. And number two is, I believe that the middle market, it's really been an underserved segment for quite a bit of time by the industry. And let's poke into each of those a little bit further. So in terms of having the needs that a larger enterprise does, but the fraction of the staff. So think about a client's financial operations. They still have complicated AP and AR processes that they're trying to automate. They still need to reconcile bank to book. They still need financial reporting to drive operational and strategic decisions. Yet they do that with a fraction of the staff. So that's number one. Number two is on the underserved side. So let's go back in history, maybe about a decade or so ago. And if you're a bank or a service provider in the industry, you essentially had two different levers you can pull to try to meet the needs of a middle market client. So number one is you could build a solution from the ground up, or number two is you can find software out in the industry, buy it, implement it into your data center, roll it out. Each of those, Brett, had their drawback to them. So if you went the build path, your investment dollars can only stretch so far, you can only run so fast. And then if you went the buy path, those solutions ended up being fairly vanilla and basic, either way you went, you ended up underserving the needs. So the good news is over the last 10 years or so, there's been a huge advancement in tech. Think about cloud, think about banks opening up APIs. And really what that's led to is a proliferation of very targeted niche solutions. And Key has been an early and often adopter of leveraging those partnerships and leveraging the broader ecosystem to really bring very targeted solutions to meet the needs of what has traditionally been an underserved client base.
Yeah, I know firsthand. I mean, that's a big part of how kind of our partnership got going, just at that intersection of like data and APIs and also multi-bank. If you look at going back to maybe 2008, when there's the Great Recession and then really there was an explosion of things off of that, of just, that revitalizing in a lot of ways from there. But multi-bank was one of those things that came out of it. Maybe it's this managing risk, diversification, but like how has that, maybe some of the challenges and then the opportunities though, with maybe not having that whole view of the client. Now you've got to contend with multi-bank, but it's probably presented some opportunities though along the way as well.
It certainly has, and I will actually expand that a little bit more. So multi-bank is clearly something that still is prevalent in the middle market. We'll find our clients that have 2-3 banks that they're doing business with. But even if our client is not multi-banked, they still have multiple accounts with us. So in either respect, they're ending up in a situation where they're trying to manage multiple data silos. And let's take an example that a client often is faced with. Let's say they're running financial reporting and trying to forecast their cash flow out 30, 60, 90 days, right? So the fact that they've got these multiple data silos, operationally, typically what they're doing is they're logging into a bank portal or multiple bank portals. They're downloading information into Excel. They're slicing it, they're dicing it, they're creating their own. Absolutely, right? Very laborious, very manual, very, at the end of the day, kind of vanilla. Because again, remember, these clients, fractional resources, right? So they don't have a lot of time, smaller teams, they don't have a lot of time to go through sophisticated reporting and forecasting. So what ends up effectively happening is they're left with stuff that's kind of pulled together in an ad hoc manner, and it's left with a lot to be desired. So I think that kind of leads us to, and what we're really excited about with the Key Trovata partnership, is we've created an ecosystem now where those data silos are broken down and the information can be consolidated and centralized. And there's a very robust, rich tool set that now lays on top of that allows clients to really get sophisticated on their reporting and their forecasting, and really makes that lean team operate to its best practical extent.
But just to add that too, I think, what's interesting is if you go back historically from an accounting perspective, you're like, hey, I need to do recon and I need to do research. And now we're actually able to use that data to more efficiently get to more of the strategic side. So cash flow forecast is a huge component. When you talk to CFOs, what's one of your most painful things is how do you forecast your cash flow accurately? So I think that's just a really good evolution of, hey, we're not just doing recon and we're not just doing research anymore, but how do we have better strategic decisions, how we're managing our cash, where are we placing that? Obviously, in changing interest rates, like that placement of cash is really critical. And so that's where I see how do we continually drive value to our clients and help them run their business better every day.
Well, you guys, I mean, we've it's been great working with you guys from a partnership perspective. Feels like we're just scratching the surface, like we're just kind of getting things going. Definitely seeing some interest, of course, and I feel like just innovation in general, like APIs, like a lot of companies don't even quite realize, and even if there's a lot of legacy solutions out there too. So I've even heard from some customers that said, oh, this 35-year-old system said APIs don't matter. Like, what? Like,
it's all batch. It's all batch. Come on.
But I mean, it's awesome that you guys see that, embracing it. It's out of the demand and necessity for serving your customers. We're not the only partner that you guys have. I know you guys have worked with fintechs for a number of years. Like, how have you found the way to really, how do you select a partner? How do you find the right partner? How do you, and then kind of operationalize that partner, knowing that's, outside the bank, and you've got to the bank's a different, unique business model, and
Yeah,
right.
making all that work, getting that to scale. And
So I think how we've approached it actually goes back a decade. So ironically, Ken Gabbard, who runs our commercial bank, was over in corporate strategy. I was working over in corporate strategy. We knew we were going to come over the payment side. We said, how do we play this game differently? If you just play the traditional game in a traditionally scaled model, we're not going to win against some of the competitors in the space. So how do you actually add value to our clients? And so when we took a step back, do we support a lot of broad middle market clients? Yes. But then we also have niche verticals that we go after as well. So you think around like healthcare or technology or real estate in the space. And how do we actually have solutions that meet that specific verticals needs or have broad applicability? And so that's where we started the journey very early on, is like, how do we find the right partners to augment the robust solutions we already had? Is there certain niche things that we know that real estate needs to solve or healthcare needs to solve? And do we want to be going back to Matt's point earlier, do we want to go build it ourselves, or do we find the right best of breed people that are already there investing solely in those needs? And that's where we decide what is the right time to partner with a potential fintech. And so that's where the evolution started in that thesis, and it's kind of come to life for the last 10 years. I was like, what's really different around how we approach that is, yes, you can just go sell a different solution, but how are you thinking around that experience of a client? And yes, you're providing a service, but at the end of the day, what's the onboarding like? What's the servicing like? When something goes wrong in those relationships, they don't typically call the fintech, they call us. And so how can we navigate with Trovata, with some of the other great partners we have out there,
it makes
to
it easier if
overcome
we can
things
step up
if
too,
something's happened? So that's where we see that partnership in the delivery is equally as important as almost a solution. And how do you actually make that opportunity come to life for a client?
And if I could be so bold to say, that is where Key really shines. So the history that we have with fintech integrations, look, the reality of it is any bank and fintech can strike a deal. The difficult part is the integration. How do you bring those cultures together? How do you create the right go-to-market strategy? How do you operationalize it? How do you manage incentives and align them? And we hear from our clients, we hear from our fintech partners that that's something we're really, really strong on, and just really helps us differentiate in the marketplace.
Well, I was going to say, it also helps if we can make sure to match that or step that up and make sure to take care of your clients. I think that's a big part of how we approach things. I've kind of been working in startups for most of my career, but more on enterprise startups. And when you're innovating with bigger companies or in regulated industries, it's like your tolerance for making a mistake is really, really low. Meaning, like, don't screw up. Mm-hmm. I think we know the seriousness or the gravity of like getting the privilege of kind of working with the bank's customers and making sure that we can bring that, that same aspect of care and being there and, making sure that we can, fill that void too. So, well, when you kind of look at now, like APIs, what is exciting, like you mentioned at the outset, talking about you can't build everything, like, and everything is speeding up. It seems like there's so much opportunity and demands are getting, accelerating too. You look at just new experiences. You look at just even what's been happening for years in tech and on the consumer side, and then customers get used to certain things. They're like, why can't I do that on the corporate side?
Right.
AI is now coming. So maybe describe a little bit about, do you guys see the API as almost like a DMARC or some way to interact with, a fintech, to look at just broadening those experiences or building out things that maybe would hard to do, or in certain ways, or accelerate that yourselves in-house?
Sure. The short answer is yes, 100%. Now, let's dig into a little bit around the why to that. So, Brett, think of API as really the connectivity between a bank, the bank's clients, and the fintech, right? So how did that work prior to APIs, maybe is where we'll start. And it was really through good old-fashioned batch processing and file exchange through a transmission vehicle. And that is a viable way to go about doing it. The challenge is you sell yourself short on a number of key aspects, primarily around client experience. And what APIs really allow you to do is deliver an experience that's more timely, it's more seamless, it has less friction in it, And ultimately that opens up to better capabilities. So I'll give a couple examples to illustrate that. So one of the beauty about APIs is you can effectively deliver banking services to wherever that client is. So if a client's working out of their ERP, great, allow them to make payments out of the ERP and then help automate the reconciliation on the back end coming back in. If a client has their own system for their client usage and they need to accept payments on that, APIs can help enable that. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about how Key and Trovata have really leveraged APIs to power the experience that we've taken to market. APIs are really the connectivity that bring that data together in a 360-degree view. And by the way, also allow clients to make payments out of the Trovata platform that settle through the KeyBank rails. So it really just is a super, super important way to connect the ecosystem together and drive the right client experience.
Cool.
But also, I would also add to that, when you look across the clients, we're always going to have certain clients that want to go into our treasury platform, that want to look at things screen to screen, like ERP and our treasury platform. And then you're also going to have clients that are like, no, I want to live in my ERP system or some treasury platform to do business. And we have to support that gambit across it. And so some of the new tools are great now. How do we enable those clients that are more sophisticated, that want to own that experience? And that's where, when we took a step back at some of our data, when you put transaction behavior or a service request where you're actually doing that activity versus in a separate module, we saw about a 400% increase in usage for servicing related items when it's where they're trying to do that particular activity versus, you need to go over here to do that. So as you think around that on the payment side, so where do people live and breathe every day? Like, these people that we're servicing, this is all they do every day. And so how do you make that job better for them every day? And that's really thoughtful. How do we improve that client experience? The APIs are just a tool to do that and potentially solve that faster than how things legacy work. But it's more like, how do you meet your client where they're at in that moment for what they're trying to accomplish more efficiently? Yeah.
What about automation, AI? AI is coming like a freight train. I'm sure you guys are talking about that a lot. It's, of course, where does the API start to, in some ways, like a building block just to sort of fuel those kind of next gen experiences and services?
So I would tie it back to, I'm much more focused on, do I have the right data architecture in place to support that? And so that's a place that we're spending a lot of time. How do we continually inhibit our business to capture more opportunity there? APIs are a way that we can pass data back and forth. There's other ways of how do we consolidate all the different things that are happening across a client relationship into a single that you can actually then action and take value off of. So I think APIs are one piece of it, but I think of that data orchestration behind it is so critical for how do you train, how do you monitor, how you then, as you feed in different things that are happening on a client, are you providing insights or alerts back that we see based upon other things that are happening there? Is there ways that we can service a client better? Or saying, hey, we think there's going to be an issue with your cash flow because we're now forecasting certain situations are happening with your cash flow that we saw in 2 other clients that we can action. So I view it as more like you've got to have the right data structure to support it. And then it's like, then how do you enable those insights on top of it? And obviously, generative AI gets a huge, attention, but I still think there's traditional AI and ML that are still huge opportunities that banks need to use in general in order to how do we continually make that client experience better for our clients.
Data architecture, multi-bank data, APIs, and then changing the world.
Yeah, exactly. For one AP clerk at a time. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what are you guys most excited about? Like if you maybe look ahead, just even next year, or if you want to go out a few years, where are you guys seeing some of the, where innovation is going or coming from?
Yeah, obviously we're product people, so we could be here all day. So I'll keep it to like two short ones. One is, we spent a lot of time talking on today is data. How do we continually provide that data back to our client in the most efficient way possible so that they can run their business better? Is it the operational reconciliation research? Is it the cash flow forecasting and different tools that we partner with you guys on as well? Is how do we continually provide better insights to our clients so they can manage their business better every day? How do they generate more sales? How do they have more effective working capital, especially in a higher interest rate environment? Every dollar is important for them. The next bucket, it ties to our deposit account as well. So our virtual account management, which allows larger institutions that have multiple deposit account needs that they have. So both a ability to transact, investigate, move money, manage, open, close. Have invested in some unique differentiation in that space that we think can solve for some of our real estate clients, our tech partners that are heavy in that deposit account money movement space, that we're feeling really bullish around our opportunity next year to kind of continue that progress and the differentiation in the marketplace.
I would say probably 2 adds on my end, Brett. So number 1 is around insights and analytics. I think we as an industry, we've still only scratched the surface over how do you really give our clients truly insightful and analytical tools and got a wealth of data, right?
Yeah.
And how do we leverage that to the best possible extent? I think we're still only scratched the surface there. And then the second, as wild as this sounds, is really on the servicing side. And in commercial is still a very human-centric servicing ecosystem. And we have a lot of opportunity in front of us to bring a digital-first mentality to that. So you can have a digital experience that's complemented with a human servicing and relationship-based experience. And if we can thread that nicely, I think there's some really cool, innovative solutions that we can get to market.
You think eventually, like you look at just proactiveness or anticipating client needs. I mean, you look at things to build off from the data or seeing trends to be able to then just be one step ahead or try to be one step ahead of the clients, I guess.
Well, I mean, that's where your generative AI and other AI opportunities come in. So one is, how do you use some of those tools to solve things for our clients without having to have the physical person touch it? And then once you free up capacity in those physical people, how do you then provide those insights back? And you can tee some of those opportunities up through some of those new tools that are out there. Or it's also like, the client, I know Brett, I know what's going on with his business, and now I can be much more proactive in servicing you and your needs because I freed up capacity through some of those tools. And so it's kind of a 2-pronged approach that we think there's opportunities, and it goes back to data, which like why we're here too, multi-bank, how do we cash flow forecast, but how do we actually, enable our ability to go work directly with the client to solve your need better and better every day.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, thank you guys,
Appreciate
Mark,
the time.
Matt, for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.